Namaste, ladies and gentlemen. It's a wonderful evening. Ahmedabad Management Association is very much delighted to have Shri M amongst us. How about putting your hands together and welcoming him? After Shri M finishes his talk, we have another distinguished guest today, and that is Mr. Bhagyesh Jha. Shall we? Ahmedabad Management Association, ladies and gentlemen, organizes such programs off and on. And a number of people like you do take advantage of such programs. And today, we have welcomed Shri M, we have welcomed Bhagyesh Bhai, and also Ahmedabad Management Association welcomes you all. How about putting your hands together for you? May I now humbly request on behalf of Ahmedabad Management Association, Shri M to walk onto the stage and Radia Saab to accompany him until his seat. And here is a bouquet for Shri M. For Bhagyesh Bhai, the bouquet is little later. Can you wait there, sir? Okay, friends, Ahmedabad Management Association once again presents a Smruti Chinha to Shri M, and you have to keep doing this. Well, I'm off now. Ma'am.
थैंक यू श्री नरेंद्र पंड्या. नए साल में नई बहार, नई बात और नए विचार, जीवन बने नया त्योहार. आप सबको नए साल की शुभकामनाएं. Before we begin this session, may I quickly just tell you two lines about Shri M, who is a living yogi and a disciple of Shri Maheshwar Nath Babaji, also known as Shri Madhukar Nath Ji. He is a spiritual guide, social reformer, educationist, and an author of many books, some of which are also available at this venue. Before we begin the evening, may I remind you all regarding some house rules. Please put your cell phones on silent mode and kindly refrain from using cameras with flash mode on. I now hand over the stage to Shri M.
Om Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshidam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanam Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwarat Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Thank you for inviting me here. And thank you, all of you, for being here. Since we are in the Management Institute, and I think Management Institute is associated with the mind and the brain and management and things like that. So I would like to discuss today Bhagesh Bhai asked me, what are you going to talk about? I said, I don't know. We'll go there and figure out. So he also said, okay. So what I would like to do is look at the infinite potential of human beings. And I won't say it's a modern perspective or an ancient perspective, but I would like to link it to an ancient perspective of the Upanishads. Because some people think that the Upanishads are very intellectual and it's beyond the capacity of the ordinary. The problem is, unfortunately, very few people today know this language which is called Sanskrit. You can ask him. If you knew this language, and in those days, all the wisdom and science, everything was, even arts, Kalidas as an example, Adi Kavi is Valmiki himself who wrote the Ramayana. If you look, you'll find all was then written in Sanskrit, or may not have been written, even taught in Sanskrit, spoken in Sanskrit. So therefore it so happens that this wisdom is in this language. That doesn't mean it has any denominations. It's an ancient language and it has so many things to be learned from that. Today, unfortunately, we don't have that. Therefore, my Guru Maheshwarnath Babaji told me, it was his instruction that I'm following. Speak in simple English. If my accent is wrong, please remind me. But speak in simple English. Bring out the truths of the Upanishads and talk to people. It's not so difficult to understand, except that you need to clear your minds and look at it in an unprejudiced manner. And look at it as a straightforward conversation and not anything very complicated. Upanishad is not complicated. Let me put it this way. Although there have been attempts to make it look very complicated many times. It's direct. So we can actually approach it, because in the forest academies, ancient times, it was a debate, but a dialogue, a samvad between the guru, the teacher, and the disciple. It was not even a one-way affair, it was a two-way affair. Look into any of the Upanishads, you will come across so many dialogues. And the dialogue is between one who thinks he does not know and one who knows. Not thinks, one who knows, the Rishi. But there is a very wonderful statement in the Upanishad. It's worth understanding, and because what happens to us is when we have a lot of learning, then it tends to screen the simplicity and directness of life. Because we have gathered so much, the weight is so heavy that it is not possible to sometimes move forward. So the Upanishads in some places declares, he who knows, knows not, and he who knows not knows. That doesn't mean that you're not supposed to study the Vedas. That's not what it means. You should study it to understand that real truth depends on your personal anubhava and not on gathering stuff. You can, if you go to the, I'm going to be free with this, here and there we'll swing. If you go to the Mundaka Upanishad, a person goes to a rishi and asks him, what is the definition of knowledge? So the rishi explains to him that there are two kinds of knowledge. Can you hear me? The last row there? Okay. ठीक है? नहीं? Oh, तो इसको वॉल्यूम थोड़ा बढ़ाना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि मैं थोड़ा सॉफ्टली बात है. Now? No? अभी? Sorry. Okay? Now okay. So, the student approaches the teacher and asks him about knowledge. And the Rishi, who is the teacher, he says, there are two kinds of knowledge. One is lower knowledge. He calls it aparavidya. And then there is the higher knowledge, which he calls paravidya. Now the interesting thing is, when the disciple asks for a list of aparavidya, not higher knowledge, lower knowledge, aparavidya, the list is a very interesting list. The teacher says, here is aparavidya, which means lower knowledge. What is the list? Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvana Veda, and the Veda Angas. So the disciple is dazzled, so is completely stuck. So what is higher knowledge then? This is all lower knowledge. Then what is higher knowledge? So the teacher says to the student, higher knowledge is that which takes you towards the truth. Which means, even if you know all this, if it does not lead you to the truth, it still remains wrong. It's not that you should not read or understand, but if it does not lead you to the higher truth, it still remains lower knowledge. And discussing further on about how people who have aparavidya only, which means those who consider themselves great scholars but do not have inner experience of the Atmik Anubhava, when such people set themselves up as teachers, as gurus, I won't use the word guru, sorry, teachers, then Babaji used to tell me that in Kali Yuga there are more gurus than students. So when, sorry, so I didn't mean anybody, okay, please. In one place, the Rishi says, if the Panditas who know everything, who think they know everything, begin to lead the student into the truth, and they don't have paravidya, which is anubhava, then you have heard an expression, you might think it is from Shakespeare, the blind leading the blind. Many, many hundreds of years before Shakespeare, the Upanishad said, Andheine vaniyamana yatandaha, which means it's like the blind leading the blind. And then both fall into a ditch. This Shakespeare supplied. So therefore we are examining this understanding with an open mind, which is required to understand the Upanishad. And I would like to therefore start with a small mantra that appears before a major Upanishad. And that applies to us intimately in a personal way and also philosophically and metaphysically in a universal way. And the mantra is well known. We all chant it regularly, but unfortunately, as I said, we don't know what we are chanting. The other day somebody was calling for prayer in the morning from the mosque, and after breakfast I asked him, do you know what you were saying? This has also happened to us here nowadays. So this is my great, the side interest is to encourage the study of Sanskrit in all universities, in all academies, so that we know what we're doing or what we're saying. If you know, you cannot be misled. Right? So, now this mantra is very popular, you might have heard it. I'm never tired of repeating it and trying to make people understand what it means. And the mantra is Om. Om is always added as a pranava. Purnamada. Purnamidam. Remember, it's not only Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat Purnamaduchyate, Purnasya Purnamataya, Purnameva Vashishyate, which means the source or the inner essence from which this entire universe has come is by its very nature, complete. Purna. Full. You can say complete, you can say full. There may be some other English words you can use. Sanskrit is a language which has, for one word you might need many English words to explain. So, Purna simply means fullness. You all know, sab purna ho gaya, means everything is. So, the essence from which we come, this universe comes, we come, we are part of this universe, is Purna. Purnamada. Now the question is, if that is Purna, what is it to me? I am not Purna. I am incomplete. I always think I am incomplete, and the whole of life is my movement towards completeness. I keep moving towards completeness. First I am alone, then I think I am incomplete. Then I think if I get married I will get complete. And then after marriage I think if I have children then I will become complete. Now I am also a married man. You ask everybody, are you really complete? I don't know. Perhaps you are. But it goes on. We want to become complete. I have one car. I feel if I have one more, then my life is fulfilled. Then one becomes two, then two becomes three. And then I think if I have a Mercedes, then I have won the race. Until I look at my neighbor and see the Rolls Royce. Then again the whole... So this attempt to become complete is built into our system because deep down, I won't say about psychology because there's a psychiatrist here, but deep down in our system, we know somewhere in the subconscious that there is something complete which we have not touched. So, however, we have been made to understand from childhood that to become fulfilled we need to gather, increase our holdings, have the external world in my hands, then I am complete. People who really have the external world in their hand or who think they have actually cannot sleep at night. So, this desire for Purnata is part of our existence. The whole of the moment of life is from the incomplete to become complete because it is a natural feeling in our minds that we have to complete. We know there is something which is complete, which is missing. So we keep on going towards it. This is the whole process of life. The good news is, the Upanishad says, Purnamidam. This is also complete. But I say, no, it is not complete, I am incomplete, I am trying to become complete. Then the Upanishads turn within and look. Inside you is the completeness, not outside. Outside, however much you gather, we know the story. Finally, when we rest, finally, what completeness is there? I mean, in the church, in the graveyard, they write R.I.P., rest in peace. We don't know if there is peace or not. We are not even aware. But that's the only time we rest in peace, perhaps. And Maheshwarnath Babaji, my guru, used to tell me that R.I.P., it also means rise if possible. R.I.P. Till then we were up and going, we were finished. Now we cannot rise up. So, this desire for completeness is actually the subconscious desire to reach our origin, which is Purna. When that is done, through internalizing our understanding and observing within, we reach the understanding that inside us is also that Purnata, fulfillment. The Vedanta calls it Satchidananda, the supreme reality, which is Sat Chitana. We'll explain that later. So, this is the whole process. Then the next two slokas say, Purnasya Purnamataya. That means this Purna, which we think is not Purna, it has come from that Purna. But even though it has come from there, Purnameva, that doesn't become incomplete. The nearest physical science, physical explanation you can give is what Einstein found out. Which means energy is always constant. It can neither be created nor destroyed. It doesn't become less or more. It can only change from one frequency to another. The Upanishad said that Purnameva avashishyate. Even though this has come from that, that remains always full. Now that is hope. Because normally, when something is taken from something, that becomes reduced. If I keep taking money from my savings, after some time nothing is left. But this is an eternal savings. It's always there as Purna. And the good news is that Purna Midam, it is also in us. When Swami Vivekananda was asked, what is the essence of Vedanta? He said, every soul is potentially divine. Every soul. And to manifest this divinity, either through karma, through work, or through devotion, bhakti, or through jnana, wisdom, or through yoga, dhyana. This is the whole essence of Vedanta. He said everything else is fancy trimmings. So today we are in one stage of evolution where I think most people can think about it. There was a time when it was not possible, but I think we are moving forward. There is a shifting now from mere frontal lobe civilization to things which are beyond. So this is the teaching of the Upanishad. Having said this, we want to go a little deep into this, little more. Please believe me, it's very simple. Don't think, oh, now this guy is going to go deep. It's a depth which all of us can follow. What I'm trying to do is to link the metaphysics and the philosophy with the personal understanding of this reality. Otherwise, it will just remain as a theory and not as a practice. Now, to have the anubhava of all these metaphysical truths, you need to have your own personal experience through sadhana. There is no other way. The Bhagavad Gita, for instance, 18 chapters, starts with Arjuna Vishada Yoga, and goes to Sannyasa Yoga. Now, in these 18 chapters, when you say Arjuna Vishada Yoga, it's not only meant for Arjuna. All of us stand in that position at some point or the other in our lives where Arjuna stood, not knowing how to move forward, burdened with sorrow, insecure, not knowing what right step to take. And then Krishna teaches him how to move forward. So unless and until that stage comes in life, the Vishada, we really won't look for something higher. We'll be very satisfied with the worldly things that we have. And then he leads him step by step into the understanding of the truth beautifully. What I'm trying to say is, at the end of each chapter of the Gita, there is a statement which defines which chapter it is, like, Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita. This is the Bhagavad Gita. Now, what is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita? Upanishads. It is the knowledge of the Upanishad, which is contained in the Upanishad. And what is contained in the Upanishad? Brahma Vidyayam. Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Upanishads Brahma Vidyayam. Watch the next word. Yoga Shastre. Which means, while Brahma Vidya can be theoretically also understood, to understand and experience it as a personal anubhava, Yoga Shastra is required. When you say yoga, please, not only asanas, okay? Yoga is much more than the asanas. Last year, I went to Geneva to the WHO headquarters, and they wanted me to speak on yoga. So I said, if you expect me to speak on yogasanas, there is no need to talk. I can demonstrate some yogasanas. But I would like to say, yoga beyond asanas. Yoga is not just asanas, there is much more to it. So Yoga Shastra is that teaching which takes you into the understanding of the Brahma Vidya as your personal experience. Now, when you say yoga, I need not mean Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga. Bhakti is a yoga. Jnana is a yoga. Karma is a yoga. There are many approaches to this truth, depending on the person's personality and background. Everybody, one thing doesn't work many a time. If you have a judicious combination of all this, excellent. But it's not so easy. So anyway, what I'm trying to do is connect the metaphysical and the philosophical understanding with how one can personally move into it. For that we need to examine our own consciousness. Now this is wonderful. The Upanishads, maybe 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years, I don't know, that's a big controversy, let's not go into that. But ancient, certainly. There is one little Upanishad which has only 12 verses. You might only 12 verses, not Ishavasya. It has Mandukya. Ishavasya is also small. We just had a discussion of the Ishavasya in the Gandhi ashram, so I don't want to repeat, go back to that. Let's take the Mandukya Upanishad. Now, it's very interesting that the Mandukya Upanishad does not tell you what to do, what not to do. It's meant for all humanity because it discusses common states of consciousness which are common to all humanity. Not for one section or this section or that section. And it starts by redefining the meaning of pranava, Om. Normally we know that Om is usually defined as the 3 syllables of A, U and Im. And A standing for creation. This is well known. I think at least all Indians know as far as possible. Why, actually I think all Americans know. They know better sometimes. And they go, so A standing for creation, the beginning of life. Because it's the simplest word that can be uttered even by a person who cannot speak. Everybody utters. Akshara. In fact, it's interesting that the word alphabet in Sanskrit is not alphabet but akshara. Meaning that cannot be shara, which cannot be destroyed, indestructible. Is it in or undestroyable? So the akshara begins with A, the beginning of all creation. Then U, representing the preservation of all that has been created. Therefore, the symbol given is of Narayana, Vishnu. And then there is Om. Once you say Om, your mouth is closed. You don't have to if you have to utter a new word, which means a new creation, then you need to open your mouth again. So it is the end of what is there now. So it is Maheshwara, the destroyer. It's not actually destroying, but transformation. Because if the old always remains, there's not even place for the young. It's something to be remembered in all wakes of life. From philosophy to teaching to politics, there should be space for the young. The old has to move at some point. So, Om represents all this. This is known. But the Mandukya Upanishad goes about defining Om in a new way. It's not so new, as I told you, it's 2,000 years old perhaps. And it says that the sound of A represents Jagrita Avastha, waking state of consciousness. And the waking state of consciousness is common to all human beings. There's nobody who doesn't understand the wake. I hope you're all awake, but Jagrita Avastha. Because we are in Shushupti, then you can't hear what I'm saying. So, Jagrita is waking state of consciousness, common to all human beings, male or female, white or black, this race or that race, we all at some point stay awake. This is represented in the Mandukya as the sound A. And who represents the dream state, Swapnavastha. It's also called Tejasa in the Upanishad, because when you dream, your eyes are closed, everything is dark, but you see in the entire dream like you're saying dear light. So there is an inner light out there. It is Tejasa by itself. Its quality itself is Tejas. This is the Swapnavastha, which again is common to all of us. You know that. We dream at night, we also daydream. There are two kinds of dreams, which is common to all of us. Okay. Now, so U is looked after. Om. Ma. Ma, the sound represents deep sleep, Sushupti. Now you look at Sushupti, it's very interesting. That's one state which again is common to all. And when you sleep, the boss and the employee are in the same field. The boss might sleep in a luxurious bed. The employee might sleep on the floor in the garage. Sometimes he sleeps better because he is tired of working. But sleep is common. It's a common meeting point. Why? Because there is no inner cognition. There is no outer cognition. I don't know who I am. The moment I begin to think who I am, then I get into trouble. Not the real who I am, but generally I am so and so. So I went into a crowd, nobody recognized me. 4 days depression. Nobody recognized. So what? There's a beautiful statement in the Gita. It says, Tulya ninda stutir mauni. The Mauni or the Yogi or the Rishi is one. For him, Ninda and Stuti are the same. Stuti is praise. And Ninda is, you know what Ninda is. What is it? Blame. So for the Yogi, praise and blame are equal. So this is what the Gita defines as this sthita. Sorry about this, that I am rambling here and there. But the fuzzy logic is required here, not linear. So, suppose you say I am a great man, suppose. I don't know, but suppose. Then I am on cloud 9. So, I'm going, okay. Because my life then depends on your opinion. Right? This is our life. It's what is called a roller coaster. When somebody pulls me down, I am depressed. When somebody praises me, I'm up there, and this goes up and down. And my life is full of that. So my BP goes up and down. This is our life. And the yogi is sthita prajna. His prajna is not affected by what's happening. It's steady. So, when they say tulya ninda, I'll give you a practical example. Suppose you call me a fool. I don't know English, then what happens? Nothing happens. In fact, if I know Hindi, I might think that you are calling me a fool and be very happy. So, you see, it's the term, the terminology, the terms used that have the effect because of my personal understanding of my life, of my past experiences, which are stored in my brain. There is nothing like that. My real state depends on myself, not on others' opinion. So, now in deep sleep, we are aware of nothing. We don't even know whether we are dead or alive. In fact, it's like a small death, and I think every day when we sleep, it's a little rehearsal for the final rest. You know nothing. If a robber comes and takes away the treasury, we don't know. It's gone. Nowadays we have cameras, but you wake up in the morning and see it, not at night. So this is called Sushupti, and this is represented in the Mandukya with the sound of Ma, Om. Now, however, even though in deep sleep we are not aware, when we wake up, we say, oh, that was a blissful sleep, especially if it was deep. That was blissful sleep, although at that moment we are not aware. When you wake up, you say, oh, that was a blissful sleep. Which means there is a witness there which at that point doesn't remember. But remember, this is the reason it's so blissful, Sushupti. That's not the aim of life. One day a Swamiji told me that the essence of Vedanta is to find deep sleep. I said, Swamiji, that is the case, everybody will be in Turiya. So anyway, in the reason why we enjoy it can be easily found. In the morning when we need to wake up, you keep an alarm, right? It rings once, you switch it off. Why? You don't want to leave that blissful existence out there. Then again it comes, again you switch it off. After 3-4 repeats, then you wake up because you need to face the world. But why are we hesitating? Why is the mind hesitating to wake up? Because it's enjoying bliss. So Sushupti is there. That is offered as a proof in Vedanta that in essence we are bliss, but you have to be conscious of it, not unconscious as in Sushupti. So if by any chance there is a way by which the bliss of Sushupti can be actually consciously known, it becomes Turiya. So in the Mandukya Upanishad, what is the sound that represents Turiya? When I say Om, Om, there's an Ardhamatra on the top. When you ring a bell, it goes on for some time before it stops. Ardhamatra. That humming sound, that represents Turiya because no words can describe it. And that is the witness of all the 3 states of existence. And the Upanishad says, Tattvamasi, you are that. Isn't it a wonderful message? That we are all immortal and that in true essence we are that supreme Satchidananda in ourselves, the supreme all-pervading reality which is Ishavashyamidam Sarvam resides in every human heart as the Antaryami Devata. So every one of us are walking, talking temples of the Lord, because the Lord sits here in the heart, in the Kamala, Hridaya Kamala. You may think with form, without form, doesn't matter. But there is divinity, and that divinity is in essence the Turiya or the pure consciousness, which is unaffected, but it enjoys everything through the different states and doesn't fall into it. Now, this in essence is one of the most important message of the Vedas, and this essence in us is actually by its very nature Purna. And that Purnata is what we are trying to achieve in the outside world. When you turn in, like Kabir Das said, we are behaving like the Kasturi Mriga. You know, in the Himalayas, upper Himalayas, there is a kind of deer called the Kasturi deer, the musk deer. And a certain season, beautiful Kasturi is produced in a little pouch near its abdomen. The fragrance comes into the air, wafts in the air. And the poor deer, you can say D-E-A-R or D-E-E-R, the poor deer, looking for this fragrance, the source of this fragrance, goes from bush to bush, pushing its snout into thorny bushes and bleeds, not knowing that this is coming from my belly. The Upanishad says, this is the problem with man. Kabir Das said that the fragrance is here and you're looking for it there. There is this beautiful Purusha Sukta in the Rishi, in the Rig Veda. Sahasra Shirsha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapada Sabhruvim Vishvato Vritva Atyatishtita Dashangulam. Great yogis have interpreted this as that supreme all-pervading being. Now when you say Sahasra in Sanskrit, it does not necessarily mean 1,000, it means countless. It's a metaphor. thousand eyes means everywhere. Every eye that looks at me is part of that Purusha. Now, and this eye is also part of Purusha. Thousands of eyes. Sahasra, Shirsha, Purusha, Sahasra, Akshaha, Sahasrapad. Wherever you go, the legs are there. The feet are there. You know the famous story of Vamana and Mahabali, who asked for place for 3 steps to keep. And finally ended up placing the 3rd step on Mahabali's head, which means all-pervading. So, this all-pervading self, the last sentence, Asthyadishtita dashangulam, in one way, one is geographically it is interpreted, it also stays 10 angulas around everything that it pervades. The other explanation is, it is 10 angulas from the Nabi, which is in the Hridaya. That 1,000-headed Purusha sits here in every one of us, man or woman. Ladies and gentlemen, or like Indigo Airlines says, boys and girls, in everybody's heart, it sits as the supreme reality. Now the whole process of sadhana is how to make the mind tranquil and clear so that this reflects without a disturbance. When this reflection is seen, there are 2 schools. Some say it is the reality, some say it's the reflection. Let's not go into that. Because there is Advaita, there is Vishishta Advaita, there is Dvaita of Madhva. So there are different various angles of looking at it. But the fact is the divinity, yes, is there, sitting. So the whole understanding of the Upanishad is how to touch that reality. And coming to the practical aspect, a great Upanishad, the Mundaka says, use your mind as the arrow. Target the Brahman, the Supreme Brahman. Use Om, the Pranava, as the bow. Aim and shoot. And you hit the target. So the chanting of the Pranava is a very important sadhana, and the Pranava can be chanted by Advaitins, Vishishta Advaitins, Dvaitins, anybody can chant. So the Pranava again represents the essence of 3 states of consciousness and the essence of Turiya. In this context, it is said that the great sage Yajnavalkya, who was the guru of Janaka, the king of Videha, was considered Rajarishi. You know that story. Vyasa sent Sukadeva to get instructions from Janaka. Sukadeva says, why would I go to a king to get? I am your son. From childhood he has been chanting Narayana, Narayana, and in ecstasy. He says, but you need to learn. So, when he goes there, Janaka, the king, says, if I need to accept you, you have to do something for me. He said, what should I do? Go around Videha, see all the sights. Come back and report to me verbatim what's happening. Don't miss anything. However, take this katori, it's full of oil to the brim. Keep it on your head and go. Come back and tell me all that is happening. Condition, don't spill a drop of oil. So Sukadeva goes around the city, the oil on his head, sees everything, comes back and reports. Janaka says, did you spill the oil? No, sir. He says, why? Because I want to learn from you the truth. So my mind was here, I was watching everything. He says, this is the way I live, says Janaka. I run the country, but my mind is on the oil. I don't spill a drop. And I'm saying this is very important. The present circumstances, the present decade through which we are moving, everybody cannot go to the Himalayas, everybody cannot go to the caves, we cannot sit in isolation. We have to live in this world and keep our mind so that the oil doesn't spill. This is possible. This is what I'm doing. If I can do it, you can do it easier maybe. This is my message of hope to everybody. So, Yeah, so once the great Rishi Yajnavalkya, who is the guru of Janaka, goes to him. Janaka had gone to sleep and he dreamt that he was a beggar. And in the dream he was hungry, his clothes were torn, he had no place to sleep, he was suffering. And then he woke up. When he woke up, he found that he was in a luxurious bedroom, in the king's bedroom. This set Janaka thinking, what if the dream had lasted for a longer time? Would I have been a beggar forever? Well, he woke up, of course, but so actually when I was a beggar, I really lived like a beggar. I was hungry, my clothes were torn. Now I think I'm a king. So which is the real thing? Am I a beggar? Am I a king? Tell me. So Yajnavalkya then explains to him what we discussed just now about the Mandukya. He doesn't say Mandukya, but he discusses the same thing. He says, Janaka, the witness who was passing through all these states, that is the reality. Others are relatively real and therefore not absolutely real. They are relatively real. Like in the dream, if I am being chased by a tiger, it's very real. I can't say now this is a dream. Even when I wake up, it's so real that I turn to see if there's a tiger there. And my heart is palpitating, the effect is there in my body. Now I say it's a dream because I have woken up. In the dream I cannot say it's a dream. So some great sages, Ramana Maharshi said, what if you wake up suddenly in this state which you call waking and say, oh, what a long dream. You won't believe it now because in the dream nobody believes it's a dream. It's a reality. So, but there is a witness, there is an essence which is watching, which is witnessing, and that Sakshi is the essence of the reality in us, all of us. And it's common to all humanity, you can't separate it. This is I think, the essence of the teachings of the Upanishads. Now, the practical aspect is sadhana. It's very interesting that even in Vedanta, the terms which are used like gunas, etc., sattva, raja, they're all borrowed from Sankhya of Kapila. And yoga darshana comes from Sankhya in many ways, although it is separately given a place as a darshana, yoga darshana. And among these, in the Yoga Darshana, one of the most important are the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Now, don't think that the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali merely deal with asana, pranayam. It's in depth because the first chapter is on the study of consciousness, samadhipada. Then only comes the sadhana pada. First is the samadhi pada. It's a discussion, deep discussion of the different states of consciousness and how to penetrate the layers and go to that state which Patanjali calls chitta vritti nirodha. When you say chitta vritti nirodha, which means not to become unconscious or thoughtless. If you have to become thoughtless, you don't have to do any yoga. You just need to hit somebody's head with a crowbar. Finished, you're thoughtless, unconscious. We're looking at the essence of consciousness, not thoughtlessness. Ordinary thoughts, yes, out. So, when you say chitta vritti nirodha, which means clearing the mind of all distractions that take you out and get you caught in this cycle of imagination and distraction. If that can be stilled, there is still awareness, mind you. That awareness is the tarmac to take off to the higher levels. It's the beginning, it's not the end. In this context, I would like to give you an example connecting the metaphysics of the Upanishad, which says that one touches the Purna, then there is no more desire left. Because the Purnata is understood to be yourself. I'll give you an example. Suppose, practical example. Suppose I desire something. Let's use a non-controversial object, like I desire a car, let's say. Now there are so many in the product, it's difficult to find out which, but anyway, I have looked at all the booklets and pamphlets and decided this is my car, I want to buy it. I don't have money, I work very hard, I borrow. In fact, we have this beg, borrow and steal. And finally, I fulfill this desire of having this car. It's in my garage. Number plate has not yet come, but it's in my garage. I'm fully satisfied. I'm so happy. And I think because I have bought this car, I'm fully fulfilled and I'm happy. It will last only for some time, till the next insurance payment comes and so on. But anyway, so for the time being, I'm happy. Time being, I'm happy. Right? Now, I think that I'm happy because I have got the car which I wanted. The yogi says, wait a minute, your happiness has another reason. What is that? Because at this moment, at least for some time, you're not craving. You see this carefully? I was very agitated till I didn't possess that car because there was this desire, deep desire, the craving to find it, to catch it. When I found it, at least temporarily, I have no craving now for that. Therefore, my mind is at rest. In that rest, between cravings, I am in happiness. I think it's because I acquired that object. So the yogi says, is there a possibility of coming to the state of non-craving without being dependent on the objects outside? So, if you look carefully in deep meditation, there is a gap to find the gap between cravings, to find a gap between the thoughts. You know how thoughts keep repeating themselves? It's a chain. I think that is a continuous chain, but it's only a mixing up of different frames. Nowadays we don't have this. The youngsters don't know. But in olden days we had this film camera. If you have to raise your hand, 10 pictures have been taken. One is like this, one is like this, one is like this, then it's up. When it is put in the projector and run at a certain speed, you see it as one action. Different frames. Thought is like that. It has many frames, infinitesimally small frames, and they are put together by time and thought, and we see a whole chain thinking it's continuous. Actually, it's a connecting between different pieces together. If they are connected by different pieces, there must be some gap in between. So, the job of the yogi is to find the gap. When you find the gap, you have found the source of thought. When you found the source of thought, you don't need thought anymore. Thought may come and thought may go, but you are in complete peace, in tranquility. And that tranquility is the beginning of finding out that in truth you are Purna and not Apurna. This is the wonderful message of the Upanishads. You don't have to change your robes. You don't have to go to the forest. Well, nice to go sometimes for a short while. If anybody hasn't gone to the Himalayas, I think at least for a month you should go. It's a beautiful thing altogether. Go away from Rishikesh. It's become a picnic spot now. Go up. I wandered many years in the Himalayas with Babaji, my master Maheshwarnath Babaji. Believe me, even today there are places in the Himalayas which are not in the tourist circuit. There are. So, it's nice. But in case you can't do that, your own little bedroom can become your kutir, where you're private, nobody can say, don't sit here. No, your wife has to cooperate or the husband has to. That's a different matter. If they say, don't sit here, then you can't sit here. Okay. So suppose it happens, then you know what to do. This is your kutir, your little bedroom. Keep a place for meditation. Sit down and do your sadhana in whichever way it appeals to you. If you're a person of the heart, it may be bhakti that appeals to you. If you are an intellectual, it may be the jnana marga. As long as you don't say, this is the only right approach, the other guy is wrong, then you're okay. 1,000 years ago, the Rig Veda said, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vedanti. There is one truth, but the wise men may call it by different names, different approaches. All the rivers flow into that ocean of the Brahman. So, this, I know that Upanishads can't be taught in a 1 hour lecture or a 40 minutes lecture. I'm trying to sum it up and make it easy for people to understand. Further, do Swadhyaya. When I say Swadhyaya, remember it means Swadhyaya. You don't have to depend on anybody. Do your own Adhyaya. If you need help, ask. Because learning is not something that can be spoon-fed. It's something that has to come from inside. Swa is important for learning. So Swadhyaya. I heard recently, today I met somebody who says he has opened a library which is open 24 hours, where anyone can come at any time, especially poor students, sit down and do their own Swadhyaya. I said, it's a wonderful thing to do, because they don't have a place in their homes to sit and study. So, now last, I want to say something before it's 7 o'clock. You know, these things after an hour, it doesn't digest. Already some people are thinking if the car parked is still there or not. Anyway, so the mind wanders. So last, but not the least, I want to say something before we have a dialogue, if there is time for that. In this particular situation and century in which we live, there is no point in going and sitting in the cave. I went, of course. It's nice sometimes to find solitude, but you have to get back to the world. So I'll tell you what my master told me. Maheshwarnath Babaji said to me, suppose you meditate in a cave in the Himalayas for 10 years. 10 hours a day, suppose. It's practically impossible to meditate 10 hours a day, but suppose I did. And then at the end of 10 years, I said to myself, now I have no anger, I have no jealousy, I have no desire, I am free. Babaji said, what kind of jealousy do you have in a cave? Can you be jealous of the cave? Can you be angry with the walls of the cave? No. It's only when you get out of the cave, climb into a bus and somebody gives you a good kick on your leg, then you know where you stand. Especially if it's a stiletto heel, you know what will happen. So, our inner calmness, achievement and meditativeness can only be tested in this world. In samparka with this entire universe. Only when we interact and communicate. So therefore, what I'm trying to say is that bring it into daily life. Keep some time for meditation, of course. And if possible, once a year for some days, run away to a solitary place. Okay, agreed. But when you come back, don't be the same Satan you were when you went. Change. And the change can be understood only when we are in communication with other human beings. Yeah? So, of course, when you are in communication with other human beings, there will be satsanga, there will also be dursanga. Agreed. But to substitute satsanga with dursanga is the way to sadhana. With this, I conclude today's, I don't know what talk. Thanks. Dhanyavad. I wish I knew Gujarati, then it would have been.
Friends, after having an inspiring discourse from His Holiness Sri M, it is now the time to invite Sri Jha Sahib and have kind of a question answer session between them. Sir, how about walking up from there?
Can we keep it to half an hour?
You know what you have to do.
He knows. Perhaps you like, sir, but let's try to wind up.
Friends, Mr. Jha is a retired IAS officer and he has served as chairman of Gujarat Sahitya Akademi. At the same time, he has taken care of a number of other departments, but he is wonderful at Sanskrit. It's fun to hear him, but at the moment he has questions too.
Thank you very much. We are Sri MG, His Holiness Pranam. As Om starts with A, Ahmedabad Management Association is also starting with Ahmedabad. So that's why I said કે થોડી કરકસર કરીએ મારો પરિચય બધાને છે જ એવું હું માની લઉં. Ahmedabad is known for many things. We also speak like Upanishadic Gujarati.
Acha?
Yeah. If somebody comes home, we say ઘેરથી જમીને આવ્યા કે ઘેર જઈને જમવાના છો.
That means?
Means you have come after finishing your breakfast or you are going to take dinner at home. When somebody comes. So that is the way Ahmedabadi do. And whenever we buy something, we always want something free. So we want to remain in business management, but at the same time we want to practice spirituality. Kurvan neveha karmani satam sata. And as you mentioned in Ishopanishad, avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyaya mridam ashnute. So we would like to know the avidya and vidya and the difference that you have already shown, but how to remain detached without asanga yatha gitayam varnitah sthita pragnasya ka bhasha. How to combine this avidya and sthita pragyata, please.
Now this question might take half an hour. Okay, I'll try. I'm just going to try. This particular sloka, which Sri Bhageshji referred to just now, occurs in the Ishavasya Upanishad, somewhere down the line. Now, it talks about Vidya and Navidya. I don't know how it's linked to our daily life, because I think before starting, let me tell you one thing. Even though you said we like to look at also the profit parts, we had a Padayatra, if you remember, starting from Kanyakumari to... Can I sit there? Yes. Can I sit there? If you like. Yeah. I think this will be better. Because though I have to tell. So, we had this 1 year and 4 months of Padayatra from Kanyakumari to Kashmir. Why I'm saying this is, I love Gujarat because when we passed through Gujarat, we had many hundreds of Padayatris. By the time we completed Padayatra, I stopped at one place when we entered from Gujarat into Madhya Pradesh. And I said, everybody check your weights. Every Padayatri was about 1 or 2 kgs extra by the time. Because food, food, we were fed so much. Wherever we went, we were given food. Even if you have dal, there is some sweet in it. So I think you are sweet-natured in a way. Today also in Prashant Bhai's house, they gave me dal, which was very sweet. Anyway, we'll come to that. Um, the sloka referred to, I will tell you in English the sloka. It means, he who worships ignorance, avidya, enters into darkness. This is the first statement. Andham tama pravishanti ye avidyayam upasate. This is the first sentence. Now that we all understand, we think we understand. We say, oh yeah, we are not ignorant. Those who worship ignorance, avidya, enter into darkness. Understood. The next sloka drops a bombshell. It says, he who worships knowledge enters into greater darkness. वो कौन सा श्लोक है? Next. Anyway, doesn't matter. So it says, and he who worships vidya enters into greater darkness. What could the Rishi have meant? It cannot be just a juggling of words. There must be something in it. So let's look at knowledge per se and see why they say this. They're not talking about wisdom and anubhava. They're talking only about knowledge, which we discussed some time back. When the Upanishad says, he who knows, knows not. And he who knows not, knows. Which means this information gathering, which we normally refer to as knowledge, leads us into darkness, but not true knowledge. So when the second sloka refers to this information gathering, which is necessary, of course, now in this world of information we need it, but it doesn't take us to the core of our being. Okay, so if you want to look at it, everybody wants rational, logical explanations. So let's look at it carefully. The very definition of the word knowledge. When I say, I want to have knowledge of this microphone, which means right now I don't have an understanding of what it is. Suppose. Then I say, now I don't know, I'm going to learn what this microphone is all about. Then I get all the information, I look at it. If I am mechanically minded, I open it, and then I say, oh, this is a microphone. And then what happens after that? This knowledge which I have acquired is set into my memory. Please listen carefully. It's put into my memory. And when I say I have the knowledge of the microphone, it means in that cubicle of my brain, wherever it is, where I have put this memory of the understanding of the microphone, can be opened at any time and looked at. So I say I know about this microphone. So the microphone's knowledge has become a memory which can be tapped at any time. So I say I have knowledge of the microphone. This is what it is practically. Now we are asking the question. I'm not asking, the rishis are asking the question. The truth, the absolute truth, Isha Vashyam Idam Sarvam, is now and here. Not in the past, not in the future. It's right here, Idam. Otherwise they have never used the word Idam, here and now. If that is the case, if you look carefully, all knowledge therefore is a memory. All knowledge. We have to, if you want to, sometimes you forget and you say, wait a minute, I got it. It's a memory. And memory is never in the present, it's always in the past. So look at this carefully. This is what I learned at the feet of Maheshwarnath Babaji. I said, I was confused, what is this? All knowledge is a memory. When I say I have full knowledge of something, I am able to tap it nicely. That's what I mean. If all knowledge is memory, all memory is the past. There is no present memory. You don't need a present memory. Even if I have to remember about you, sir, at the present I don't need it, but I have to keep it for the future and then take it out whenever I want. So all memory being the past, and therefore all knowledge being in memory and therefore in the past, it cannot be the truth which is now. And the Upanishad itself declares that this truth cannot be defined. Anything that can be defined can be put into our memories, but this cannot be defined. Na tatra chakshur gacchati, na vag gacchati, no mana. Even the mind doesn't go there. So how do I know it? When all these layers of memory, and which is knowledge, has been removed, and the mind in its pristine purity perhaps understands this truth. Now to your question of how do we do this in this daily life, this is the question, because we may talk about all this, but we have to do business, we have to do many things. Believe me, I am a married man myself. I have both good and bad problems in my house also. I also live this life. If you look at my life, I'm all the time traveling and I'm all the time in different places, so much so that sometimes in the night when I wake up, I go in the opposite direction thinking the bathroom is there. So, is it possible in this thing that appears like a confusion to remain tranquil and steady and move forward? I think this is possible. And for that, while we are engaged in the activities of this world, one or two things we should keep in mind, which is that I devote at least a small part of my day for some kind of sadhana, which means sitting down, actually. In the beginning it is required. There may be yogis who don't require that in the advanced stages. While they are doing everything, it's still going on. It's called sahaja. But till that is reached, you need to have a daily practice. Something which will bring your mind away from the outside world and keep it calmly in one place. And one of the easiest and the best sadhana is pranava sadhana, chanting the pranava and listening to the sound of it. One. As the inner mind expands, you actually are able to deal with the external world also in a better way. It's not cut off. This is what I'm trying. It's not like that. In fact, you become more energy efficient because you're not wasting your energy in distractions. One becomes more energy efficient, thought efficient, and one-pointed. So this one-pointedness can be achieved not only through sadhana, but also by dedicating all your effort and energy into whatever you're doing at one point. Here's an example. Here's an example. The great Janaka used to be a disciple of Yajnavalkya. Now, he used to go to Yajnavalkya's kutir in the forest to learn, to understand. And many rishis also used to come, forest dwellers. Yajnavalkya always kept an asana for Janaka in front of him. Some of the rishis used to grumble. He's keeping this. He also has partiality because he's a king, he's keeping the asana for him. Yajnavalkya didn't say a word about it. One day, there was a fire in Videha. Fire was spreading towards the forest. All the so-called forest dwellers and rishis got up and started running. Oh, my kamandalu is in the kutir is gone, my clothes are gone. And Yajnavalkya looked around. There was only Janaka sitting there. Videha was in fire. And he said, "Sir, so what were you saying just now?" One-pointedness. So, the word pratyahara in yogic practice means one-pointedness, the capacity to fix your attention, also to switch it off at will, and it comes only through practice. There is no way out. Nairantariya abhyasena. This is from Patanjali. Regular practice is required. So set apart one part of your life, some time where you can sit. If you're doing nothing, at least quieten your mind and sit down. Watch your breath. Do something, or do some mantra japa. If in childhood, if you have been given the Gayatri, please chant it. There is no mantra better than that. People come to me and ask me, 45 years old, 50 years old, "Sir, can you give me a mantra diksha?" So I say, "What's your name?" Prashant Sharma. I said, 1 minute. Have you been given the Gayatri when you were young? Yes. What happened? I don't do it. I said, why don't you restart that? What better mantra can I give you? So, this period, if one can set apart, do or meditate, I think living in this world and carrying on with spiritual pursuits will not clash. We can move. I have been doing that, and I think you can do that. Maybe you are better equipped than me. I don't know. And if at any time you feel you want some solitude, definitely go. Great, busy executives usually go away for a week, play golf and come back. Why? Because they want to keep the mind. If anybody is playing golf here, believe me, it's a good game. I also run away sometimes. Out. So, 18 holes are there in a big golf links. There are 18 adhyayas in the Bhagavad Gita. You start with one and you complete. You can't hit the ball if you simply use force. You need attention, one point, complete coordination. Now this can be practiced in daily life. That's what I believe. Thank you, sir.
I think you have touched Kathopanishad partially. Shreyascha Preyascha. If we want to take it, Shreya and prayer, how consciously we can do in our daily life, I think that will be helpful, because in recent times, 2 books I would like to refer. One is Satya Nadella has recently wrote a book called Hit Afresh, and second is by Francis Fukuyama, which is about the identity.
Okay.
I think Satchidanand is also searching identity, and the whole world is in the grip of identity. As such, if you see, from CAA to everyone,
right,
it's an identity crisis.
Absolutely.
So, Koham to Shreya and prayer, how to relate that?
Right. So, that's a good question. I don't know how long. Anyway, now, what he said about Shreyas and prayers is higher knowledge, lower knowledge, and higher knowledge. This is about it. Now, higher knowledge, the higher attribute is considered to be that which is good, but which may not always be enjoyable at the moment. And the other may not be good, but enjoyable. So in this life, one has to sometimes choose in a situation. If something is good and it's not enjoyable, we might have to give up that enjoyment for some time because it is good. Because in the ultimate essence, that goodness is the greatest of enjoyment, which is where we come to Satchidananda. When you say Satchidananda, this, as you said, the identity crisis is nothing new. It's been there for 2000 years. The great Kenopanishad begins with this identity crisis. Kene shidam patati prasidam mana. Who is it? Who are you? When people get angry, they say, who do you think you are? Yeah? The identity crisis. So the Upanishad also starts with that. Who are you? What is your true essence? And the Upanishad declares that you are actually the essence which is called Satchidananda, in your true essence. Of course, in this life, we cannot filter in entire Satchidananda. But when you at least have awareness that this is my true nature, then that goodness then filters through our actions. And we don't look only for pleasure. Don't think that pleasure is the same as happiness. Pleasure may actually take you away from happiness many a time. It's temporary. Goodness is permanent. So when you choose in this life, choose goodness over pleasure. Yeah, little pleasures of life, if you enjoy your ice cream, it is all right. But what I mean to say is, when you look at life, always look, you see, sometimes our ego also gives us pleasure. I am a big man, I am so and so, it's actually so stupid because we really are not what we think we are. We are something else. And that something else in essence is Satchidananda. You also refer to that word. Now what is this Satchidananda? 3 syllables, split them. Sat, Chit and Ananda. Now, in the Brahma Sutras, Vyasa gives a different connotation to Satchidananda. Asti Bhadi Priya. Asti, Bhadi and Priya. Asti means which is, as, which means is as against that which we think is but is not. Plato said this beautifully when he said there are 2 things. One is, I-S, capital, and is never becoming. The other is not, but is ever becoming. So to get out of this becoming and remain with what is, which never becomes and remains forever as it is in its true state, is being. So that being is Satchidananda. Sat meaning Asato ma sadgamaya, take me from the unreal to the real, which means that which is permanent, not something which is here today and gone tomorrow. Even M is sitting here. Tomorrow, after some years, you will not see this M, gone. Rest in peace. So it can't be permanent. So there is an essence in me, of course, in you and me, which is permanent. And that essence is Sat. As against Asat, which is unreal. When you say unreal, it means that which is not there forever, which comes and goes. So the real is Sat, and that is our true essence. So every now and then remind ourselves in the middle of this diverse world that my true essence is Sat. We can do that. Keep reminding ourselves then. And this Sat is also not a Padartha, but Chit, consciousness, awareness. It's not a material object. Yeah, of course, some people think that consciousness is a product of the brain. I beg to differ. When the brain becomes absolutely calm, then you see what is consciousness. It is the consciousness that operates the supercomputer called the brain. You have a supercomputer in your office. If you have no operator, it means nothing. It's a machine. Even though now we have, what is that? What intelligence? Artificial intelligence. But even artificial intelligence comes from a human being before it's set up. So that awareness, Chit, or consciousness is the essence of our being. Once in a while, when you get caught in this rush of the world, remind yourself, I am the pure consciousness, Chit. And what is the essence of Chit? The very quality of Chit is Ananda, happiness, not pleasure. Let's learn to distinguish between goodness, happiness and pleasure. Goodness and happiness are one thing. Pleasure is something that is temporary, which is Asat. The Sat is that which is permanent. So this Ananda, which Vyasa calls Priya. Asti, Bhati means that which is effulgent, and Priya is that which is dear to us. In the Brihadharanyaka Upanishad, the great Rishi, who is Yajnavalkya, says to Maitri, his wife, that because of which you love your child, because of which the husband loves the wife, please understand, Maitri, that is the real self, not the object. I am dear to you because of the inner being which is there and the inner being which is in me. That dearness is called Priya. That's why some people think that the heart is the easier way to understanding this than the brain. Because Priya is always in the heart. If you find 2 young people, no religion, nothing, no spirituality, nothing, 2 young people standing in the bus stop and looking at each other. Hours, what are you looking at? Kuch kuch hota hai. Kya hota hai? Can you define it? Now, if that is so, even in ordinary so-called love, physical, can you imagine what it is in the higher levels of thought, beyond thought? That is Priya, the dearness that we feel to each other. So I personally think one should start from Priya and go towards the Asti. instead of the other way around. Because Priya is easily understood by us. Compassion, helping someone, doing good to others, this is something we can understand. As we move towards that, when I say I want to help somebody, you're not really helping anybody. Because that person is not different from you, actually, in true essence. You're helping yourself. If this thing can be inculcated in our mind, then I think you can. This is an institute of management. I think the best thing to manage would be how to bring the spiritual element in our activities, even into business. If this can be done, then we have a wonderful Indian definition of management. It's universal, of course, but it starts from India, so we can't deny that, the source. So I'm saying we should say the Bharatiya Institute of Management. Then they'll think it's part of Bharatiya Vidyabhan. That's fine. It's only a question of terms, the inner feeling. So I think now we can. Thank you very much, sir, for the wonderful questions. It really brought out things. Dhanyavad.
Maharshi Arvind coined one word called divine discontent. એટલે આજે આપણે અધૂરા રહીને જઈએ છીએ. We are discontented. We
Still.
want more. But we will request, but before we close, I would like
I'll come
to...
again.
Huh?
I'll come again.
Yeah. आपने योगा की बात की तो ह्यूमरस हास्येन समापयति अस्माकं संस्कृतस्य विवेकः तेन कारणेन किंचित हास्यकणिका अहं वदामि. एक बार क्या हुआ, देर आर टू प्लेसेस इन द वर्ल्ड which speaks of Shanpan and Ganpan. Shanpan means wisdom. And Ganpan is madness. Mehsana and Uganda. So I come from Mehsana.
Acha.
And what happened, I was asked by Pujya Morari Bapu to speak on Ishopanishad for 1 hour. So I was contemplating on all the 18 mantras and was preparing my lecture. And while going to Mehsana, I was also looking at what can be the definition of yoga. And I was just thinking, and at that time I saw a scene where a person was standing on a buffalo. See, buffalo is the official animal of Mehsana.
I know. I have been to Mehsana.
So I asked my driver, let us go nearer. When I went nearer to that person, I realized that he was seeking network. And that's why he was on the buffalo. So I realized which Dr. Kurian could not contemplate, the various uses of buffalo. This Mehsana man has done to establish communication.
True. Through the buffalo.
ईशावास्यम इदम सर्वम यत किंचित जगत्याम जगत. जड़ चेतन बोल अबोल सब एक होए थे, by which communication can be established.
True.
So that is what Rabindranath Tagore tells creative unity. When we are one with him,
With that.
we get the bliss, which is not sukh, not dukh, but anand. So sukh has a opposite word,
Yes.
dukh, but anand has no word, opposite word. So that's why I think we should give a very great standing ovation. We, on behalf of Ahmedabad, but Ahmedabadis, we always bargain. So please be on your place. Please promise us that you will come here and speak on Upanishads for 7 days or... we are very greedy people. So, but you will speak, at least promise us that you will come and speak on Upanishads. Upanishad Saptah, kuch bhi, whatever is convenient to you. But we want his promise, because Ahmedabadis, we have to bargain. And this is our bargain, that you please come and speak on each Upanishad. Thank you very much. Om. Yeah. If you are all okay, if you are all agreeable, then we can have a 5 minutes meditation before we go. Because I requested him that let us have Prashanta Manaha. Oh, it's fine. I don't know.
That is after my heart. So, thank you for suggesting. We'll sit for 5 minutes. First, I want all of us together to chant the pranava 3 times with me, and then you close your eyes and meditate. So, shall we start with that? Here, 1, 2, 3. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.
We thank Sri M on behalf of Ahmedabad Management Association and entire people of Ahmedabad and present here. Thank you very much. Please come again. Thank you. Pranam.